Hello there. Thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. It's the Park Adventurers Club. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. We appreciate you guys being with us on your Sunday night, and happy holiday weekend to those of you who are getting the day off tomorrow. This is going to be, we should just stay here till midnight and hang out. If you're with us live, thank you guys for being here. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel. It's the Park Adventurers Club. We have a great time. It's a lot of fun. You should be here. And then also make suro to give us a like, as it helps people find us. Talk in the chat. Say hi. I see a lot of folks in there already. Care Bear and Benjamin and Neko and Dawn. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us as we say goodbye to yet another land, a lost land of Dinoland USA. And honestly, you know, this park just, Animal Kingdom, we'll talk about the Park of Animal Kingdom. It opened in 1998. And this is the first land, I guess. Well, it's the second land to close at Animal Kingdom. We'll talk about some of our other lost lands, but we'll really just paying homage to dinosaurs. And so I'm not going to say that has anything to do with our panel tonight, because that feels weird, saying that they're dinosaurs. They're not. They're dinosaur enthusiasts is what they are, right? That's what we are, dinosaur enthusiasts. Yes. And we'll start with our good friend, Stephanie. How are you, Stephanie?
Good to see everybody. Happy to be here, Rob. And I hope everyone had a great Valentine's yesterday.
Yes, you're still celebrating, I can tell. And then, of course, our good friend and a heck of a paleontologist, if he does say so himself, it is Charlie. Charlie, how are you, sir?
I do say so myself. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. I'm ready to talk about dinosaurs, as always. And it makes a lot more sense this time than when we're doing something that's not dinosaur related. So glad to finally be on topic.
Why do you keep flaming me about Ice Age? You keep flaming me on the fact that I didn't know that was not dinosaurs when we walked into it. It's fine. You schooled me. Charlie is one of these rare characters who, like, he has a history of everything. It's like, oh yeah, I used to do that. He pulls the strangest rabbits out of the hat. And one of the things that he said to us a while ago was that he had an archaeological degree. Is that right? Mm-hmm. And you are a paleontologist. Yeah. And he told me about being at the La Brea tar pits, which I visited before, and they're pretty amazing, doing some digs and that kind of stuff. And so he was like, hey, I'm going down for the closing of Dinosaur. I'll be there around that time. And then we should totally talk about Dinoland afterwards. So this is, again, Animal Kingdom had this land, Dinoland USA, and I pulled up this quote that Michael Eisner, who was the CEO at the time, says when he dedicated the Animal Kingdom on April 21st, 1998. He said that it was a kingdom of animals, real, ancient, and imagined. And so, Charlie, the ancient ones, the dinosaurs, are going away. They're going extinct. We're going to use the word extinct. It's going to be a funny joke all night. They're going extinct.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this, buddy? Are you sad?
I mean, I am. I'm not, like, terribly sad to lose the ride. I know that's what we're all talking about because it's been whittled away over the years. I'm not terribly sad about losing the ride. There are so many other ways to use dinosaurs that I think are being left on the table. I'm just sad that, real, ancient, and imagined, we've now lost 2 of the 3 of those. So we're down to 33% of the mission statement. And if they start pulling out lions to put in, like other IP, I'm going to be really upset but not surprised, because when you're walking into the park and you see on the front entrance, you've got a dragon, you've got an elephant, and you've got a triceratops, are like the 3 heads on the entrance to the park, and now 2 of those have no reason to be there. So I'm kind of sad to see the soul of the park shift.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, the one that never happened, which was the Beastly Kingdom, and we kind of have a hint of that when it comes to Avatar and the world of Pandora, but yeah, we don't really have the Beastly Kingdom that we thought we were going to get when this first opened. When Animal Kingdom was going to open, it was like, no, it's not a zoo. That was the funny thing that they kept saying. It is a mixture of all of these things, and we're using all of our technologies. Yes, there will be animals and things that are related to animals and nature and all that other stuff. And so They had Dinoland USA, and when it first opened, like Asia wasn't even there, but they had Dinoland USA, and the original plan was to have the Beastly Kingdom, and they were like, you know what, we can't finish that in time. Let's just throw Mickey and some characters in, and we'll call it Camp Mini Mickey, which is the one that the other land that's gone. That is now Pandora. Let me ask you this, Stephanie: which one are you gonna miss more? Camp Mini Mickey or Dinoland USA? You can be honest.
Honestly, Dinoland USA. I grew up. The first time we came to Animal Kingdom was December of 1999, and I grew up with a brother that absolutely. They think he was going to be a paleontologist. He wanted to be, like Grant from Jurassic Park, and go live in a trailer in Arizona somewhere or something. So that's what I grew up around, and we absolutely loved that ride. It was scary. I'm not going to lie, the countdown to extinction, but we enjoyed it, and I don't really recall much else. But apparently, they had, real paleontologists with real dinosaur bones excavating, some of them putting the bones together out there originally. And I don't really remember that, to be honest with you. Maybe it was gone by the time I was there, but I will miss that. And I do think that we have some imaginary animals coming, because we have Bluey coming up to Conservation Station.
We'll talk about all that. First of all, we usually run this as a meeting. This is the Park Adventurers Club. Normally we'll do the reading the minutes. We're going to defer that to just talk about dinosaurs. And then the new business is saying our goodbyes to Dinoland USA, and then we'll talk about what's coming up. And then for our Patreon, our pack, we have a quick post show tonight. So if you are a pack member, please thank you for being pack member, and we'll stick around to the end, and we'll talk a little bit about that, what's coming up, all of that kind of stuff. But let's start at the beginning. There's a little saying in Mary Poppins about that, right? Let's start at the very first.
Good place to start.
Yeah, that's a very good place to start. So here's a map of Animal Kingdom at the time that it opened in 1998. At the bottom there, you see, or actually over to the side, they show you dirt, which they don't do that anymore. They show you dirt as to where Asia was going to be, and that was going to be Kilimanjaro, not Kilimanjaro, it was going to be Kali River Rapids and eventually Expedition Everest, et cetera, et cetera. The only thing that was actually in Asia was the bird show was over there. But then if you look down at the bottom, Dinoland USA was just a few things. It was a Restaurantosaurus. It was what was called Countdown to Extinction at the time. And there was a thing, and I think you've kind of mentioned that here a little bit, Stephanie, that was called the Dinosaur Jubilee. Do you know anything about that, Charlie? Did you? Because I didn't go when that was there.
I didn't either, but I know about it online from just like history projects on the park. Yeah. The Dino Jubilee was just an exhibition of fossils that were there that was meant, they had, I guess, earmarked that land for a roller coaster type experience, some excavator ride that they wanted to do. And in order to kind of hold that land, they just threw up a little tent and filled it with some fossils as like a little walk around thing. But what I liked about that, and they kind of kept that through over the years, is just we're just going to pop some fossils here and there. But then you had cast members who were actually really knowledgeable about the dinosaurs, and so when you go up and talk to them, they were pretending to be the grad students who were running the land or whatever, but they were actually spitting some real facts, and you could actually have a conversation with them about dinosaurs and other ancient animals and stuff, some more obscure things, giant turtles and ammonites and stuff. Things that more than just T-Rex.
Gotcha. Well, so I will tell you, I was never into dinosaurs as a kid. Sorry. My son, I know. Sorry, Charlie. Star-kissed. Anyway, but I know you are, and your sons are into dinosaurs. But let me go over to this lady, Stephanie. Are any of your kids like into dinosaurs?
I tried to get my son to be, very interested because, like I said, I grew up with a brother that was, and, read Jurassic Park when he was 8 years old and,
right.
That kind of thing. So I don't know. Nobody really got that involved in it, but we definitely enjoyed, going there at Animal Kingdom.
And you know what? And a lot of people will say it was the last, like it wasn't IP. Well, then Charlie and I talked about the movie the other night that was Dinosaur, and Dinosaur and Countdown to Extinction kind of came out at the same time, so it kind of was IP. But again, this is cool, like a whole land of dinosaurs before there was. And I don't know. Now I saw Universal kind of flex a little bit. It's like, we've got dinosaurs. We got tons of dinosaurs. You should come over here. We've got a Jurassic Park land. It's fine.
Right.
Let's take a closer look though at this map from the original one, and that letter K is what we were talking about with this Dinosaur Jubilee. And this is then became the parking lot where there were the fossil games, and then Primeval Whirl, the roller coaster, was built down in that area. And then if you look over at L, which is all the way over to the side there, that is actually the original theater in the wild. So this L was originally the Jungle Book. It was Journey of the Jungle Book, I think, or something along that lines. It was a Jungle Book show outdoors, and then that became Tarzan Rocks. And then now that is they made an enclosed building, and it is the Nemo show. But at that time, it was part of Dinoland, which is weird to me that, like, hey, let's just go over to this other tent where they're putting on a Jungle Book show. That was kind of interesting. But they did have the Boneyard, and they had Dinosaur, which was called Countdown to Extinction at the time. And then they had the Restaurantosaurus. So it was a lot of things that we still look at and we go, oh, okay, we recognize that. But here's sort of a look into what the Dinosaur Jubilee looked like inside. Again, I didn't go to it. By the time I got there were already construction walls up saying, hey, we're going to do something else cool here. And then that's when they added Triceratops Spin, and they added Primeval Whirl, and then they added the fossil games over there in what was supposed to be Chester and Hester's Dinorama. Stephanie, when you saw Dinorama, were you like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I was hoping for? Because I think most Disney fans at the time went, you just bought two off-the-shelf rides, the Wild Mouse roller coaster and the Spinner, right? Or were you like, oh,
Yes.
This is such a great addition to this land?
No, I didn't get it. I didn't understand the theming, and I wish now, going back and looking, like Charlie was talking about the history of this and everything. I'm like, why didn't I know who Chester and Hester was? Why did I know? I did not know that they were trying to milk all the profits from the tourists that came to the Dino Institute in Diggs County and all this kind of stuff. But I enjoyed Primeval Whirl. I don't know. That was something that my brothers and I loved doing when we were younger, and it always felt like you're going to fall off.
Yeah, and honestly, Goofy's Sky School is basically the same thing out at Disney California Adventure. It was Mulholland Madness before that, and then it's Goofy's Sky School. It's the same basic track with the spinning cars and all that kind of stuff, but it had some cutouts that were like, turn back, meteors. Here's what the Countdown to Extinction looked like, though. A very different sign and a very different dino. Still not our dino. Out front than it was there when they just recently closed the thing, but it was Countdown to Extinction. So did anybody on here ride this when it was Countdown to Extinction? You did. Okay. Do you remember anything different?
Not really. I mean, I do remember, is it Bill Nye that does the talk over in the main atrium
In the queue?
area, the voice? In the queue, and then they would light up different murals, and it would talk about the timeline with the little red asteroid that comes. Did they still do that, right?
Yeah, they still did that. Well, you said do. It's closed now.
I know. Now they don't.
That's why we're here crying, and is that it's closed now, and we won't get to see that again. But I mean, it seems like it was a very minor change to do that, but they changed it to just call it Dinosaur, and then Dinosaur, as Charlie, you and I talked about the other night, Dinosaur was loosely based on that movie Dinosaur that we reviewed the other night on Wednesday night. So, what do you think? Let's talk about the lore of the land, though, Charlie, because this is something my son got totally into, going inside Restaurantosaurus, looking at all of the artifacts on the walls. There was a great story here that they weren't telling us, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, so the first time I went, I didn't know the story, and I walked around and I was like, this just feels like any other generic dinosaur cash grab garbage that I've seen 100 other places, you know? And I was really disappointed. And then years later, as I was looking into it, I was like, oh, that's the point. It's supposed to feel like a generic cash grab garbage. I guess I get that. Like, if that's what you're going for, you know, if you're aiming for the bottom, boy, you hit it. But I just didn't understand. Like, it really did feel very slapdash and kind of thrown together without a lot of thought. Like, that's just as someone who didn't know the history when I went the first time, just felt a little lazy to me. Now that I know it and I've kind of read everything online and seen all the photos and stuff, is like, oh, okay, there's some cool stuff hidden in there. It's just buried in piles of dinosaur toys and other stuff that are more eye-catching, where it's like I'm looking at the giant inflatable T-Rex that I had when I was a kid rather than all of the story elements that are hidden in the piles of stuff.
Okay, but have you ever gone like on a car trip across country or something and stopped at these little kitschy places? We go to Oklahoma and go camping, and that's Bigfoot country. And there are those gas stations that we will stop at that are just a ton of Bigfoot t-shirts and little figurines and all. It looks exactly like what you're talking about, the Chester and Hester's Sinclair, gas station.
Let's stop for a second because I want to acknowledge the super chat in the room from our good friend Jungle Cruiser, who says, "Hello all. Rob went and saw the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile today. It was an antique store. Just making sure I read that correctly. Saw the Mickey picnic baskets, a mouse droid popcorn bucket, and a Cinderella one. Patreon is paid." Okay. But honestly, so Jungle Cruiser is my resident, like, we are akin in the popcorn plastic world. And so they're, I love that when he brings stuff up like that, and that's great. But that sounds sort of like when you go to an antique store, very similar sort of a vibe that they were going for and some of the stuff. That roadside thing you're talking about, Stephanie, the first thing, and again, thank you, Jungle Cruiser. So appreciate the super chat and you reaching out. So the roadside thing reminds me of South of the Border. I don't know if you guys know South of the Border. It's on I-95. I don't think, Charlie, you would pass by it for any reason in the world. But I remember as a kid, driving from Maryland to Florida, that it's right south of it. It's in the North Carolina, South Carolina border, and it's this just. It's so culturally inappropriate for 2026, but it's just like junk shops and tacos and ice cream and a motel, not a hotel, not even like Eugene Levy couldn't have saved this one. And then on top of that, they've got it's just gaudy, and so I think that's kind of the thing. But as a kid, I was all about that. That was pretty awesome. But the thing that gets me about this is that there's a story that I feel like we should be told, and I've never been on a VIP tour, but Stephanie, I know that in the past you've been on a VIP tour. Have you ever been on one where you would have walked through Dinoland and they would have told you all these things? Because at Universal, when you go on a VIP tour, they're like haunted mansion. I mean, the haunted houses there, they have so much story to tell you, or they'll tell you the lore of the land you're in, or those kind of things. I feel like this is lost. There should be in a manual somewhere to tell you, no?
Yeah, they do. They do, and it's very dependent on your guide, though, because, your VIP tour guide, it might be something that they are, well versed in and they're excited to explain to you. And then other times, other guides, they might just blow past it and get you right on the ride and get out of there as quick as possible. So it's very tour guide dependent.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. The other thing it reminds me of is Pleasure Island. Pleasure Island had a great backstory if you knew it. Right. But it wasn't like in your face either. So I don't know. I feel like there needed to be almost a pre-show to walk into the land of Dinoland I feel like we get a better idea and a better sense of it in Galaxy's Edge. Like, here's the deal. Here's what's happening in Galaxy's Edge, this land that you just entered in. There's a backstory with Doc Ondar and Black Spire Outpost and it's just, it feels like it's more explained. In this one, I don't think it was explained. I think you could have missed it if you blinked. If you were the kind of person that was like, I love Six Flags and roller coasters, and I'm going to go in here and I'm going to ride this dinosaur thing, but you just ignored everything else. There were so many details in Dinoland. So many.
Yes.
The bulletin board across from the dino, like the Boneyard, had a ton of stuff in it. All the walls inside of Restaurantosaurus. The way the buildings were like almost pieced together. Like if you look at Restaurantosaurus from the top, it just looks like it's a hodgepodge of stuff. So, also back in the day, there was a sponsorship with McDonald's in this land,
Yep.
which, you know, they had like Petra fries. Do you remember that? Like the,
Yes.
and then they had they did the Restaurantosaurus was McDonald's chicken nuggets and fries.
Burgers.
But they also had a breakfast there that was Donald's Restaurantosaurus breakfast. And they moved that to Tusker House eventually, but that used to be right there. The character breakfast was at the Restaurantosaurus, which was pretty cool. So I spent more time in it as the character meal than I ever did after that. So that was kind of fun. But that also brought us that great thing that us as Disney people would always want to tell people when we would go ride Dinosaur. Stephanie, what was that? When you would go into Dinosaur and you went through the pre-show and you were going down the stairs. Don't let me down here. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Does Charlie know?
I know.
Okay. All right. Well, Charlie, go ahead and tell the people.
The ketchup and mustard on the wall because of the McDonald's sponsorship.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Ketchup, mustard, and mayonnaise.
Yes. So there were three pipes that were coming across the top, and it had like letters on it, which were apparently like the formula for mustard, ketchup, and mayonnaise. And you would see these pipes running through the corridor, and it's just like that was everybody's favorite story to tell. So, sorry, Stephanie, I didn't put you on the spot, but you knew.
It's okay.
You were familiar with those, right? Or no?
Yes, but that was like, yeah, like you said, that was on the load platform, right, of the ride.
Mm-hmm.
As you were, after the pre-show, you're descending the steps to get into the load platform, and you would see them as you would walk by there.
Right.
You're not excited. It's fine. That was just one of those things that, like, I just loved sharing with people back before they could read the internet for themselves. And know all of these cool, funky little stories. But so there was that. Let's talk about another thing. Is that there was a Discovery riverboat. Do you guys remember doing the? It would turn into the Radio Disney riverboat.
Radio
Why
Disney
are you
boat?
shaking your head, Stephanie? Did you hate the riverboats?
No, I never got to do the riverboats. I don't remember doing that.
Oh, gotcha. Let me pull this up because again, this is from the original map. Here is so if you look here, and this is like they apparently they called this Safari Village. I literally never remember them calling it Safari Village. But you can see these little boats here that go around the outside, and then you can see that it was like a circle around Discovery Island. If you'll notice right here, the boat would come through, and here's Dinoland. Right in this area here, and I jumped off of it. There's a dinosaur. That's a dinosaur right there by the bridge. And so there was actually an Aladar animatronic in the water as the boat would come by. Charlie, did you ever see anything about this?
I never went on the boats, but I know about this because of the history research that I've done for some videos I made. And so I've seen a lot of different iterations of that boat tour. Kind of went through with the Radio Disney and everything else. It never quite found its footing, and I don't understand why they kept trying to make it a gimmick, because that, I think, was just a sweet, little boat ride, part of the park, kind of like the friendship boats. But like it had the dinosaur, it also had the like fire cave too, when they were referencing
Beastly Kingdom was
the dragons that were supposed to happen. Yeah. So like it had a lot of cool little things like that, and I don't know why that wasn't enough.
Well, if you're ready to see something scary, I'm going to show you a side-by-side picture of the Aladar that was the riverboat, and apparently they took this animatronic and they let it rot on the Walt Disney Studios backlot tour over in Paris. So here's
Oh,
the two
Oh,
sides of that. Yeah. So now obviously that's gone now. That's the Cars Route 66 deal, but yeah, so that was the Aladar that was there, and they would read it into the spiel, and in a lot of ways it was kind of a Jungle Cruise thing as you would go around, and they would kind of call attention to the other stuff that was there. I think the reason they stopped doing this boat ride though was that it would take you like an hour and a half to get on because there was so low capacity on it, and then when you would get on, you would go around for half, and then you would get off, and then you would have to queue up again to get back on. And I think people were just like livid about that. And then they tried to change it with the Radio Disney thing, and at that point, I don't think you had to get off. So then, like, you could just stay on, which meant like you could be waiting in line, and then the boat comes around, and 3 people get off, and then only 3 people can get on. So I mean, I don't think they just figured out the capacity of it, and that's why it went away. So the boat ride really wasn't part of Dinoland, but it had a piece of Dinoland in front of it with this Aladar animatronic, which was pretty cool. So then Chester and Hester's opens up Dinorama. They extend it. One of the things that somebody mentioned earlier today was the excavator was a roller coaster that was supposed to be there. And Charlie, I think you made mention of that.
mm-hmm.
It was supposed to be this awesome roller coaster that was going to be back there where the gift shop is and where that Jubilee was. And they just were like, nah, let's just put these, like we talked about, kind of off the shelf roller coaster, the Triceratops spin in the games. And then once all of those things were there, we had Cementosaurus. Do you guys remember?
yes.
Yeah, Cementosaurus.
Giant
It was
Brachiosaurus.
just the giant the giant dinosaur that was there, Charlie. Like,
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I didn't know that's what it was called.
yeah. I mean, jokingly, I don't think that was the official name for it, but anyway, so that land was, now complete, basically. But the thing that we haven't really talked about is the thing that existed there forever, and my kids went there, and I think, Stephanie, your kids went there, which was like the Boneyard. It was this great playground where you would go in on this one side, and there were slides, and there was water features and things like that, and then you would go up and across the bridge, which is like where the dinosaur is at the entrance, and on the other side was this just dig pit where it was like this weird rocky sand that you would like brush off dinosaur bones and play in, and my kids would bury each other in it, and they would play Walk the Dinosaur on a loop, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. Stephanie, did you ever take your kids there? Did they think it was fun? Did you
Yes.
have trouble getting them out of
They
there?
loved it. I lost them. So I had to run around. The great part about it is that they had it kind of, they had a gate and an attendant that would stand there. And if a child tried to leave without an adult, they would say, "Where's your parent?" So I knew that my kids were ultimately probably safe, but I did definitely lose them for, a period of time because you would have to go down a series of slides and it would dump you out in different sections. So where I was standing was not exactly where my kids would be coming out of the slides, but they loved it. And it was a great area. Parts of it were shaded. You could kind of just sit there and you could hear dinosaurs roaring as they were, running through the tunnels and things. They absolutely loved it. And I hope that it still stays in some capacity.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to, though. I mean, you and I joked about it, or mostly you joked about it when we were doing a show about, what was coming to Animal Kingdom and or to the tropical Americas, and it said something about like a playground for kids, and you were like, I think it's going to be a dinosaur themed playground, because you were like, they're just going to leave it, but they've already started demolishing it. That's where they're going to put the new carousel. And again, we'll talk about what's coming to the new land in a little bit. But Charlie, did you take your kids to that at any time? Because you just took your son for the first time. It would have been closed, right?
Yeah.
It was just a sad march back to see Dinosaur.
I took myself walk through it. And, the first time or the second time I went there, I was I'd taken off time from my job as a paleontologist. So I'm walking around and they're like, here's the tools of a paleontologist. And I was like, this is all lies. And I just started lecturing to the kids around me of like, there's no toothbrushes here. There's no bag full of sadness, and there's no duct tape. So like, this is all incorrect. And like, I was very self-important for all of this, but I got to walk around and see everything and kind of critique it for myself. And I walked over the bridge and I did the slides and let the cast members yell at me and tell me this is only for short kids and stuff. And I just ignored them and had a wonderful time. So I see the appeal.
Did you say for short kids?
Yeah. Yeah, they wasn't allowed to do the slide because I was too tall. This is only for kids. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I did it anyway. And like, what are they going to do? Stop me? So yeah. I did the slide and I got to have that experience. It was really nice.
When my kids were little, they loved going to that Dino Dig, and it was great. And they had again, because I'm in radio, they had this DJ thing going on. I think our friend Chris Reed had some part in that whole thing, but they had they would, it was just like shock jock banter back and forth, and then they would just play was not walk the dinosaur over and over again. But because my kids love dinosaurs so much, and they're grown now, when the last time we went, and I think it was last June, to say goodbye, for them to say goodbye, they posed by the thing you were talking about, Charlie, which is right by the front gate, that dinosaur head. So yeah, I think they've got a lot of changes to do, I would say, although they never got rid of the dragon from half the stuff. So yep. I'm not really sure that that's going to happen. This is kind of the symbols of the park, and it's like, okay, oops. So we're gonna need an Indiana Jones whip where the Triceratops is, and then we're gonna need Mirabelle standing at the other one. I guess is how that's gonna work, because that fits perfectly. Again, I'm gonna hold until we get to the end to talk about that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it was a neat little area. But it was also kind of like until they built Asia, it was kind of stuck back there. You walked down and you were stuck, and then you would walk back up. So then they made some announcements to say, "Hey, we're gonna start closing this stuff down and make way for something else." And so then things started closing, and we started seeing, actually the first thing that happened before any of that, Primeval Whirl just disappeared. They just took that down. I heard safety issues. I heard that they couldn't get new parts for it. I heard all kinds of things as to why that wasn't going to be a thing anymore. But they put it up during COVID. They put up a big fence around it, and it never came back after COVID. And you said you rode that one, Stephanie, right? Do you have fond memories of that? Or I think at one point it was actually like a lightning lane. I mean, a fast pass top tier. In that park.
I think so. There definitely was something like that. But no, we liked it. We liked the thrill of, are we going to fall off on this one, or is it going to be the next ride that we fall off the edge? So you take those turns pretty fast, But it was cute, and we definitely did it when it was open. And my kids were kind of sad to see it go. It's what it was, but it was cute.
Yeah. Here's a picture of my son in front of it during COVID. I don't know if you could tell that or not. He's not just he's not a surgeon or anything. So, but you can get also kind of an overall view of the what was that kind of on purpose roadside parking lot with the cutouts and the lights and all of that kind of thing. Stephanie, you were saying that kind of matches that vibe of sort of the Bigfoot thing that was there, but you enjoyed it.
Okay, so I will say the thing I did not enjoy about it is that you still had to pay to do the little games that you would get a dinosaur stuffy, and yes, the fossil games. If you had that already included, and they're hard to win anyway, let's, be honest there. It's not like you're winning every time. So if you had that included in the price of your ticket, then hey, that's great. But you had to fork out more money. And I would always just be like, come on, kids, we're walking quickly over here to go see Nemo or whatever.
Yeah, and you know what? You and I had this conversation when we were talking about DAS last week, is that it feels very un-Disney. That feels very not magical. The idea of paying extra for something that is a game of chance that you're most likely going to lose.
Right.
And I've said this before about Disney in general, the house always wins. And I know, because I used to work in a games department at a regional theme park, is that the house always wins when it comes to those things. I mean, even I was a guesser at a guesser age and weight thing.
Oh, no.
And they didn't care. They didn't care that I was was I trained? No. It was just, but it's also very dangerous because it's like, if it's a woman, you've got to go very low. It's like, oh, you look like you're 22. Oh, you're 50. Oh, I was way off. Take a prize. But the prizes were like dirt cheap. And so obviously whatever you pay, you've already paid for that over and over again. And I know that as they were waning down this, as they were closing Dinoland, and a lot of the prizes were now officially Dinoland prizes. They like made that change. They said, Dinorama on them or whatever. People were going crazy trying to make sure that they could win all these things so they could have a souvenir of the place before they left. So
Yeah.
that was another thing that I hope doesn't come back. Honestly, it doesn't feel very Disney to me that's a thing that they would have there. Charlie, the little food places that are there, like, I don't know how you feel theming wise. I mean, we talked a little bit about Restaurantosaurus. There's Dino Bite Snacks that is in the land. Any of those places, and like the little things on the top of the building there, like the little umbrella and the dinosaurs fighting, like the details that are there. What do you think about these little snack shops? Did you partake in any of them
I liked
that were
them.
left?
Yeah, I went to Trilobite Snacks. That I think is one of the best names that anything has ever had. Like I've not seen that at museums or themed pop-up experiences or anything, and I'm like, that is such low-hanging fruit and such a great idea. So I went there to get the ice cream or whatever it was, just to pay respect to the name. And I ate at Restaurantosaurus because it was there and it was available. But there's such amazing food in Animal Kingdom that I feel like these were probably the weakest restaurants in the entire park, because they're just kind of lowest common denominator food. Like, because the kids were there playing at the playground, let's give everybody chicken tenders, hamburger, pizza, like all this kind of boring stuff. So I cute, they were fine, but they didn't really hold any magic for me.
Yeah. What about you, Stephanie?
Yeah, I liked Restaurantosaurus. I like the theming of it. And like you were talking about the different sections that you can sit in, you can kind of choose where you wanted to go sit, because they were like, the buildings were put together on purpose, because it used to be the main lodge was like a fishing lodge, and it had this beautiful stone fireplace and a lot of heads that were dinosaur heads, as if it was a hunting, situation. And then they had these beautiful posters and paintings in there. I did not realize until recently that the largest one was done by Joe Rohde himself before he became, really high up in the Imagineering. So I hope that he gets that painting back, or it goes for, $5 million, however Disney chooses to use it. But I hope that Joe Rohde gets it. But yes, I did enjoy it. And I will tell you, maybe you get, burgers and fries, but you need a place. My kids are not going to be eating African food or whatever, but they're going to eat their chicken nuggets. So we needed a place like that. It doesn't really make sense to put it over in Africa where it is now. And I will tell you one more story really quick. They did a wonderful birthday thing where you got in a giant pail of dig toys and sand toys and things like that. When you came in, it was your birthday, and they sang to you. I mean, of course, they gave you like the little dirt and worms, kind of thing. But then you got this giant pail as well. So my kids got all that too. We always go there for their birthday.
Okay. Yeah. So when I was looking through all the stuff that was out there about the restaurants, about Dinoland, about all that. But by the way, for us, it was always Pizza Safari. Because my kids, when they were little, didn't want to do that kind of stuff either. So we would go to Pizza Safari. And then when my son got a very distinguished palate, that wasn't enough for him. He didn't want to do freaking Pizza Safari, So I haven't been there in a minute. But getting back to like when McDonald's was the sponsor of it, you can see like menu, you'll dig our fries. See, that's the Petra Fries menu. That's a dino joke, Charlie. You'll dig our fries.
I did get that one. Someone had to explain it to me, but I did end up getting it.
Yeah, I figured it was okay. There's the Restaurantosaurus, and I love how they added a saurus onto the top of it. Like, we're gonna go ahead and take this restaurant and make it seem like this. You can see all the McDonald's stuff hidden. Here was the menu for that. McDonald's bags that were hidden in there too. Here's Petra Fries. the logos were on these posters. These posters, I think, were still out there when it closed, but without the McDonald's logos on them. So, the other thing is Sue. This
Yes.
dinosaur is a recreation of Sue, which I believe the actual bones of Sue live in Chicago.
Mhm.
What are
Yes.
school
The
us a little
Field
bit on
Museum.
Sue, Charlie, because I know you got some Sue knowledge in your pocket.
Yeah, Sue is the most complete Tyrannosaurus Rex fossil found to date. Tyrannosaurus is for as big as it is, its bones are very tiny and complex, especially in its skull. So there are several known specimens. There are several skulls, but they're very seldom complete. And then because it was so big, a body that big is going to get smushed all around as it gets pushed into the mud to be fossilized. So finding a complete T-Rex is very rare. And Sue was found in the 90s, and it was like a huge deal. It was during the dinosaur craze. And then I remember the actual Sue went on a national tour around America. And my mom pulled me out of school one day to go and see Sue at the Natural History Museum in LA. And like it was a foundational moment for my life, like seeing a real T-Rex skeleton like that. And so having Sue there, especially for all of us, who remember going through the dinosaur craze in the 90s and everything, like that was a huge moment. And that's kind of the most important T-Rex discovery that we've had in a long time. So having her there as probably the most famous dinosaur skeleton that anybody knows anymore, that's, I think, a really important piece of paleontological history to include as a cast in the park.
And apparently she's been this one version has been moved now. I mean, we've already seen footage from BioReconstruct that they've started demolishing the area, getting ready for Indiana Jones. So maybe they'll find a place to put it back with the Indiana Jones theme involved. But yeah, but Stephanie, I don't know did you guys ever stop down and like pay tribute to Sue? Because there were some people that was like they would stop and like it would be a big deal and they would get a speech like the one Charlie gave. But then sometimes it's just you would walk by it randomly because it was right as you would walk through those two like fire posts on your way into Dinosaur. It was on your right, and I think a lot of people just like missed it.
Oh, we got a picture with her every time. There's one from February of last year with me and my brother and our families and
Oh,
stuff.
because
So
your
yeah.
brother. Okay, now
Yeah.
now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. One of the other things that I love about Dinoland, as we're talking about the things we're gonna miss, is it's like dad jokes on steroids. It's just all the way through,
the
all
funny.
kinds of tongue in cheek, all the way through the land, just like visual gags and gags like again on that fake radio station they would play, and one of the things I was looking at based again on the dinosaur Dinoland McDonald's connection was over 3 billion unearthed instead of served, because that's what McDonald's does, is they serve over 3 billion. The friendliest fossils in America, like, and you'll dig our fries, like all that kind of stuff. It was just really good. Was there one that, Charlie, when you were there, that you thought was really particularly funny that we wouldn't get because we're not as paleontologists as you?
Well, so far as maybe not a dad joke, but like a hidden Easter egg, and I tell people this all the time. Everybody knows Dr. Seeker. Do you know his first name? Rob, I'm sure you do.
Oh, I do. Dr. Grant Seeker.
Grant Seeker, because he's
Seeking grants.
like every scientist, you're a grant seeker. But Dr. Marsh, Felicia Rashad, is actually a reference to probably my favorite story, my favorite paleontological history story. There was in the late 1800s, in like the 1870s, 1880s, there was a war between two of the most prominent paleontologists ever in the field, who they call it the Bone Wars. It was two rival paleontologists who fought each other for finds, and they hired a bunch of Civil War veterans who couldn't let go of the war and had PTSD to be like mercenaries for them, and they would destroy each other's finds. And then at the end of the season, they would blow up their own dig sites so as not to leave anything for the other guy to find. and they wrote at each other all the time of like how terrible the other scientist was. One guy was named Edward Drinker Cope, and so his rival named fossilized poop after him, a coprolite. And like it was just the most petty, ridiculous war that raged for like 25-30 years. And it was between Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel Marsh. And so Dr. Marsh being a reference to Othniel Marsh of the Bone Wars, who was the most prolific paleontologist that the field has ever had. He discovered more species than any other paleontologist to date, because it was literally the Wild West of you can just go out there and find whatever you want. And like he was untrained. He had a rich uncle, so he bought his way into the field and set up shop at I think it was Yale, and just was like, I'm going to go out and be a paleontologist now. So he just went out and found a bunch of bones and kind of slapped them together. Like, it was insane. This is one of the craziest stories that's not taught in school. And they paid homage to that with Felicia Rashad. Like, that's just a nice little reference, a cool little thing for the paleontologists who come through who are like, I get that, and no one else does. Like, I really like that. And I talked to a lot of people who didn't want to hear it. I told them anyway, because that's the funnest fact in the land.
That is a deep
I think
cut.
I got it, but just again, tell me that whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. So
I can go on the Bone Wars. Like, if there's one thing that I could do drunk history on, it would be the Bone Wars. It's I could do a 3-hour lecture just on the Bone Wars, and it gets crazier and crazier as the more times I tell it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I believe you, and I will not dare you in any way, shape, or form. The chat was going on saying that Sue has been demolished, and it's like, so it's one of those things where that's I mean, that could have gone anywhere. I mean, I feel like you could have just picked it up and taken it literally to any place. Any museum would have been happy to have a recreation of the Sioux dinosaur from, and that's just, if that's the case, that is super sad. And I look around at some of the other things that were there, and these props and things that probably also got trashed from the Boneyard. Like, I always loved looking in here to see if I could find something. Like, sometimes you would see like the construction hats that were in the shape of a hidden Mickey, or some bones or some cases or whatever. It was a really well lived in land that they created here. It gave a brand new land the feeling that people have just been like living here forever. Mm-hmm. And that you just like came into this old town where they had been living here forever. So that's a shame that part of it is gone. But let me ask you, do you know about Monty?
Is that the Edmontosaurus?
No, I'm sorry, Marley. Marley.
Marley, the crocodile?
Yeah. So you do know about Marley. I don't know why I said Monty. Marley was the crocodile who was there in that one enclosure that, like, I feel like he was either... I feel like I rarely saw him, and I don't know if it was like he was somewhere else or what, but he was like 60 years old, and then he was one of the first things they removed from that area. It says that he said he was relocated to the St. Augustine Alligator Farm, where they continually tell us he's a crocodile, but okay, he went to an alligator farm in October of 2024. So he was one of the first people to split. He's like, I got a new gig, I got a new place, I'm out of here. Is that a big deal? Like, I feel like some of those animals people come back and see over and over again, but is that a big deal to you, Stephanie?
I mean, we live in Louisiana, so we see alligators a lot.
You got them on your front porch right now.
Yeah, sort of. But so the point being is that you're taking the animal out of Animal Kingdom. I mean, I get why they did it, because they're going to do construction and you have to move the animals to a safe location. But please, let's pull in some new animals that we're, building this new section. Let's pull in new animals to Animal Kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, that's we're going to talk about what's coming soon, and I have questions, so many questions about all of that. So again, we saw how everything started closing down, and then again they took out the Primeval Whirl. That was like 2021, and then they took out the like Triceratops spin. Was that a favorite spinner of anybody's?
I mean, My 3-year-old liked it.
But was it a
It was in the
favorite?
sun though. No, not to me because it was in the sun, but every time we walk past because it's so colorful and it goes, up like that, like the carpet, she wanted to do it.
Yeah. And then the last vestige, and Charlie and I would have like had a drinking game with the word vestige the other night when we were doing dinosaur, but talking specifically about this. The last vestige in this land was the Restaurantosaurus. Actually, let me back up a second. Before they started tearing all this down, they did something called the Donald's Dino Bash.
Yes.
What was the purpose of that, do you think, Stephanie? Was that to like lure people back into this land rather than spending real money?
No, you said it. I think it really was. I think it was to get people saying, okay, we're going to come see the characters. The characters are dressed in cute outfits, Chip and Dale are in their dino costumes. And they had sort of a car, like it wasn't a um, full parade, but they did have kind of this caravan that came through initially, and they would play music and have the kids come out and dance and everything, and then you would go and get into the queue to meet the characters. But they had Launchpad and Donald and Daisy and Scrooge, and so yeah, you saw some characters you don't always get to see.
And it was the world's biggest pin truck.
Right.
Because why not? Yeah. So again, this could have been an attempt to like salvage the land or get people excited about it just by taking characters that you probably already had on hand and taking them down and putting them in this area. But it was cool to see like Launchpad and Scrooge and Chip and Dale and Donald down in there. That was kind of neat. So again, that was kind of one of those last minute ditch effort things they did, including also adding Santa randomly
Yes.
at the end to the
It was
Restaurantosaurus.
so cute though.
Before we talk about again the closing down, one of the other things that closed down was the gift shop. Did you ever go look in that one, Charlie? Because again, it wouldn't have been this trip; it would have been already closed. But did you go in and look in there at some of the things that were in there?
Yeah, so the Dinosaur gift shop and the Chester and Hester gas station one, I liked both of them because they both, like the Chester and Hester gas station really does feel like, a slice of Americana, and I had most of the toys that were around the top of the room when I was growing up. And the other one, there's this kind of push now of everybody remembering Utopian Scholastic of like, this is what it was in the 90s when you were a smart kid, everything kind of it together, like I'm into geology, all right, cool, you get space too, like it all just like this is just smart kid stuff. And that gift shop in the Dinosaur exit queue was like 100% on par. So whether it's like the actual toys you had or just kind of the aesthetic feel, like that just transported me back to childhood. I loved everything about that.
You know what I had a problem with, though, is that the Dinosaur gift shop never seemed to have anything that was themed to dinosaur.
Yeah,
Like,
I noticed
like
that
the
too,
ride.
because I wanted something. Yeah,
Right.
they
Yeah.
didn't really have much.
That was the thing. My son always wanted like a Dino Institute hat or Dino something from there, but it was generic dinosaurs or, like you said, just random things or phone cases or whatever. They didn't really do anything until there was like dinosaurs going away. Let's make water bottles, T-shirts, keychains, and pins, and we'll put them here, and then people can rummage through them if they want. But yeah, I think that the other gift shop there though was a lot of fun going in there, and they would decorate the dinosaur, put a Santa hat on it, as you do if you're Disney to decorate for Christmas. You put a Santa hat on everything, and it makes it holly and jolly. I don't know. It was really neat to walk through it. I don't know that we ever stopped down and bought a bunch of stuff because it wasn't unique stuff. Usually, it was stuff that you would find anywhere else. That's the thing. It's like, that's what I love about Epic right now is when you go to Epic and you're in Burke, you just see Burke stuff, and it's like really cool Burke stuff. Or you go over to Darkmoor, and like the monster stuff is there. Some of it's generic monsters, like old school monster movie stuff, but most of it is very just unique. And I feel like we've gotten away from that when you walk off of this dinosaur ride and it's like there's generic Mickey phone cases in the gift shop, or the claws, like the ones where you you put your
Dinosaur
hand
head.
with
in
the
it, it has
T-Rex head,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. So yeah, there was the gift shop. So again, they start closing everything down. The last things to be there were the Restaurantosaurus and Dinosaur. And they, Josh told us we could have until this year. We could have all of 2025. Go ahead, have all of 2025 to ride it. And so every time we would go, it would be like, we don't really know when it's closing yet, so we better ride it one more time. And I have one last time from Hamilton in my head, teach him how to say goodbye. But I loved being able to ride that attraction. But Charlie, you have something out in California called the Indiana Jones and the Temple of the Forbidden Eye.
Mm-hmm.
I was told,
subtagline, the better
Dinosaur
version of this ride.
Yeah, let's
Right.
but let's just talk about that as we're like piecing out of this thing. Is that attraction, I was told, was the same exact layout, exact track layout as the Dinosaur ride, that the both of them were the same. But when you are in that, you feel
Almost.
like you are in these caverns, in these like like that it's massive and multi-leveled and like just effects everywhere. And so I'm hoping we get that here. But as somebody who probably rode that first, like I rode Dinosaur first, and I was like, this is my jam. Memorized the pre-show, was all about it. Loved the ketchup, mustard, and mayo joke, and every bit of it. I was all about the whole thing, and great. But as someone who probably rode Indiana Jones first and then came out here to this one, were you like, what the heck was that?
Yeah. So not only did I ride it first, I actually worked on Indiana Jones when I was a cast member. So I rode it 5 or 6 times every shift, because I found they'll let you go on an animation check. You just got to make sure that nothing is broken, because Indiana Jones has a penchant for his head falling into his chest, so we had to keep an eye on it. And so they would send us on animation checks. So I've probably done that ride upwards of 4,000 or 5,000 times in my life, because obviously I got a degree in archaeology, so come on, of course I'm going to be obsessed with that one. I think that's as close to a perfect ride as you can get. From a design point of view, from a guest experience point of view, everything except for the workings of the animatronics are kind of faulty, and that's just of the time that it was made. I really, really like that ride, and I think it uses the EMV a little bit better, like the ride vehicle. It uses the motion of it a little bit better than Dinosaur did. Being in full darkness on Dinosaur, you don't really get the benefit of how the set moves around you to make it feel more cloistered and faster, or bigger, open to move through the space, like all that kind of stuff. There are so many little tricks and things they do on Indiana Jones to really make it so immersive for something that doesn't go that fast. It feels, way more intense and fun than it has any right to, because it was intentionally designed that way. And I feel like Dinosaur, being so dark and with so few effects, like you pull up and there's one thing to look at, and then you move to the next thing where there's one thing to look at. It's definitely more about look at this cool dinosaur and then let's go, versus Indiana Jones. You could ride it as many times as I have and still notice new things. There's so much going on in that ride, because you had an entire team of people dedicated to putting out that ride when that came out, versus Dinosaur was a piece of Animal Kingdom. So I think that's it got a little less attention, and your attention is a little more focused when you're on the ride.
So you said you were a cast member on that attraction?
On Indy. Yeah, I was on Jungle Cruise, and then they cross-trained me to Indy when Jungle went down for a rehab.
Nice. That's pretty cool. So, but it must have been a catch-22 for you. You're like, I love dinosaurs, but the Indy ride is so much better. And you know what?
It really is, yeah.
And again, I liked that, but I love that attraction, the Indiana Jones attraction. I wish like the pre-show is a little disjointed because you're in that queue and Salah's got the video going, and it's like you kind of get a little bit of a vibe. I hate all the stairs up and down and over the track and all that kind of thing. But in general, it's a much superior attraction on the same ride system, and it makes me think Spider-Man, Transformers. Like it's the same ride system. Or Alien Swirling Saucers and Mater's Junkyard Jamboree. Mater all day. Like I would so much rather do Mater. It's so much more fun for some strange reason. Same ride. So when we're doing that, but I agree with you. It's like that's the thing. It's so black and dark. And it's just like, I was having this conversation today with my wife, and I was talking about the fact that it's like, here's the trick though, is that in Indiana Jones, you're in the caverns, right? You're like in this like, you're in a archaeological dig. In Dinosaur, you're supposed to be outdoors. So they have to give you the illusion of outside while you're there. And I don't think that they ever nailed that the way something like, say, the E.T. ride even had ever done. But I saw you nodding a lot, Stephanie. You have thoughts on this as well, because you probably did, I assume, Dinosaur first, well before you did Indy.
Yeah, we did Countdown to Extinction back in 1999, but I absolutely love Indiana Jones. I think I completely agree with Charlie. I think that is probably, hot take, one of the best, if not the best ride, given Disneyland, all the nostalgia and the original rides out there. I really think Indiana Jones is the best ride at Disneyland. And I think it's because it incorporates so many different techniques. You have some projections, you have some animatronics, you open up into that huge 2-story, room with all the, fake fire and the smoke and everything coming up from the pits. And you're like, am I going to fall into the pit? And that just gives you this sense of dread. And you can see other cars, which you cannot see in Dinosaur, which makes me wonder if the ride system is the same, but the layout must not be the same. So I'm not sure if they're going to change it because it feels a lot tighter in there.
Well, again, friend Jake was in chat saying that the tracks are the same, like that the layout is exactly the same. I whatever they're doing, since they closed this last, I don't see them doing a ton of like physical changes to the building, to the track layout, to any of that. I think it's all going to just be show set differences. But I can't imagine that it's going to be as good as the one in California, because that's so immersive with all of those things that are in that one that, to your point, Charlie, now they don't have an entire park to build. They just have this one land to build. Will they give it the love and attention it needs? Because it's a year and a half out, maybe. And we know that they don't work super fast when it comes to this stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with Indiana Jones in this new attraction, because they promised it's going to be an animal thing. So
yes, snakes.
Well, why did it have to be snakes? So let's dive down into that though, about the theming, about what comes next, because again, these are all the things that we love. Before, and here's a question I'm going to ask you at the end. Okay, are we going to miss it because of nostalgia, or are we going to miss it because it was good? I'm going to ask you that at the end, because again, we're saying goodbye to Dinoland. So you think about that one. Just simmer on that one, but. When they were talking about replacing this, and again, I feel like we were kind of bamboozled at the last D23 where they showed us all of these pretty pictures and all these cool things that were coming, and then like a month later, we're like, here's now what you're losing. And you're losing the Rivers of America in Walt Disney World, and you're losing Muppet Vision, the last Muppet Vision in America, and you're losing... Dinoland. And so all of these things were going away. Honestly, if it's going to be something better, I'm looking forward to that, and that's okay. But I hate that with this blessing of size that they have to continually replace things and not expand. These are not expansions. These are replacements, and we need to remember that. But they had this blue sky concept, weird speech that Josh gave. Love Josh. 2 D23s ago, where he was like, what if, And he was like, what if there's something on the other side of Big Thunder Mountain? And what if there's this? And then he had concept art. And one of the things he said about Dinoland is, what if there was a Moana ride and a Zootopia ride? Mm-hmm. And so the Zootopia ride would be this up here in this corner, that would have probably been exactly a port of the Shanghai attraction. And this attraction down on the lower left with Moana, I have a sneaking suspicion that somehow became the Lion King attraction for Paris. Sneaking suspicion. I don't know. I didn't get to see anything past this. But a lot of times, just for cost effectiveness, they'll take the same basic layout, right? So I feel like this was a better choice. I'm not hating on Tropical Americas and what's coming, but I feel like this was a better choice. Stephanie, I assume you had seen this concept art, and also, by the way, what is this barrel thing that's here in the front with all the tarps on it? I assume this was somehow still tied to Moana in some kind of a wavefinder ride in a barrel. Like, it almost looks like Triceratops spin, but with barrels. I don't know, but when you saw this concept art, were you like, okay, I'll take that upgrade, or were you like, I'm still not sure what we're doing here?
I was like, what if Josh D'Amaro tells you something and it never happens? That's what I was like. I think it would have been fine. I do like the concept of the Tropical Americas better, because to me, Animal Kingdom is about animals. So I've always pushed for an Australia. Like, let's do that. I mean, Nemo's in the Theater of the Wild right next door. Like, let's just do an Australia one. And maybe Moana could be pushed into that, area too, because that's a South Pacific thing. But I feel like the Tropical Americas, I'm excited for the Encanto ride. Let's be honest. I'm glad that maybe it's going to be a dark ride that hopefully is kind of like Mystic Manor. This is what my fingers are crossed for, so that my kids can ride it and we can all enjoy it as a family. And it's kind of a cool, different concept thing that we've not seen before in the States. I hope that they bring in some animals to this, but it's not lost on me. And I don't know about this, Charlie, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but some of the dinosaurs that were found in the Tropical Americas and like South America are actually Carnotaurus.
I believe it was. Yeah, I think the Carnotaur was found in South America.
So maybe that's going to be, part of the Easter eggs that they leave in the land.
Could be. Charlie,
I hope so.
Again, what are your thoughts on this? Like, do you think it should have been this? Like, we're going to talk about what it's going to be, but what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think Moana is overused. I loved the film, but I feel like they kind of... Frozen was a huge thing, and then it got its own ride in the park, and you're like, yes, here you go. And, they've got the meet and greets, of course, but, like, they only kind of put the one thing in there, and it was a long time before we heard anything else. Whereas with Moana, they're like, we're going to put Moana everywhere. You guys liked it a little bit, so I hope you really like it. And it was all over the place. I don't know that it, I don't know that it can handle like the Splash Mountain boat ride and that spinner, which I thought was the Kakamora boat. The little coconut guys. Yeah, with all the sails, I thought that's what it was. So you're like flying around the Kakamora boat, which just seems like a waste of space. I don't think we're so desperate for a spinner. Like when Dinoland goes away, we're not like, oh boy, I really hate losing Triceratops. Spin is the big, I don't think that's what we all want to come back necessarily. It's a nice additive, but like the Zootopia ride, I think fits. That fits for a park about animals. That absolutely works. I feel like Moana, they're just trying to shoehorn something in there. And I kind of feel that way about Encanto as well. I know we're going to go in that direction, but like they rushed all this stuff into the parks to get Encanto in here everywhere they could, because we were all stuck at home and one song went viral. So they were like, all right, now everything is going to be Encanto. We're going to put Encanto on everything. And we're on Small World, like, yeah. So, I'm sure it'll be a cool ride for what it is, but I don't necessarily know, unless they're going to base the entire thing around the one kid who talks to animals. Like, the movie isn't really about animals. It's about family.
I think it's about him
Yeah.
we're going into his room, and that's his
Antonio's
room is
room.
all about the animals. Yeah.
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 It's literally just got to be. We're not
Well,
putting to house. It's just in his room.
Yes.
so
Exactly.
when they brought out Bruce, and I think it was Destination D23, not the last one, but the one before. So in between time, they kind of adjusted this plan. They're like, okay, it's not this plan anymore. It's now going to be, we're going to take the Tree of Life and we're going to make it a Zootopia show with a Clawhauser animatronic. I was like, well, there goes the Zootopia ride. We're not doing that anymore
Yes.
because that's kind of a big deal in the Shanghai thing is the Clawhauser like greeting you animatronic. So it's like, okay, if he's going to be in the Tree of Life, he is not going to be doing that. I've always wanted there to be a Zootopia land over where Rafiki's Planet Watch is. They take the train, they retrofit it to be like the Hogwarts Express that you get in, you're riding through all the biomes and you get to Zootopia and they recreate the Shanghai from there. That way it keeps Joe Rohde's vision of what the animal kingdom should look like, nature and all that, but you've moved it out that way. That's what I always wanted to happen. Clearly that's not going to happen anymore, or that is not going to happen. If we ever get Zootopia, the knockoff from Shanghai, I'm guessing that's part of Disneyland Forward, and that's not going to be anytime soon because they've already told us what they're doing for the time being. I was looking in the chat, and Stephanie, when you said that, and I don't know if David meant this in response to your Australia comment, but he says, we're getting Bluey's Australia adventure. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, we're getting a Bluey meet and greet and maybe losing the petting zoo to
Hey,
do it.
If I get to pet a wallaby, then I'm good, a baby kangaroo.
I've been to Australia. They're very weird about what they will and won't let you like pet, I guess. No, that just
It's
sounds
Florida.
really out of context. Also, Jake said, please no more Moana or Frozen. Okay. I mean, yeah, I mean, we're into the unknown right now. We don't know what's, sorry.
Boo.
But I do feel like that those two things, Zootopia and the Moana stuff, felt more Animal Kingdom. Not necessarily animals, but more Animal Kingdom. I don't know. So then they came out and they're like, no. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do this. And so here's a look at what the new area is going to look like, as we've kind of talked about here up in the upper left. That's Casita, and that's going to be going into Antonio's bedroom, like his new room, and seeing all the animals, we assume. Over to the right of that, which is sort of in the middle, is what looks like the exact same dinosaur gift shop and bathrooms, just with like some treatments to make it look like it's the tropical Americas. And then further over to the right is the temple front, and to what looks like it's going to be in Indiana Jones. A little bit further over, and we've got remnants of Restaurantosaurus, but covered up again with sort of like some some elements of the tropical Americas. And then in the bottom middle is going to be that that carousel that they've added. So this is what we're looking at. This is what's coming. We're told 2027 at this point, and then they'll narrow that down to fall 2027, and they'll narrow that down to October 2027. I don't know. That's where all that's coming from. So at Destination, or at D23 though, they rolled out some models. And so when I was there, we got to take a picture of some of the models that are there. And so here's the concept art at the top, the models at the bottom of this area. So here is that area that is the Restaurantosaurus, and you can see what that's going to look like. Here's the Casita with the fake mountains / show building. My wife is convinced that it's still going to just be all inside the house, just like the Haunted Mansion attraction is all inside the house. But there's that. And it's
good.
kind of a weird, but it does look like a Haunted Mansion approach as opposed to a Mystic Manor, but we'll see how that works. And you can see again over to the right is that kind of the rehab of the bathrooms and the gift shop. So it doesn't look like they're going to do much there. What I'm also looking at is this area in the back here where there's like a walkway to something. Like, where's that going to go? Like, maybe that's supposed to go to the Indiana Jones. I don't know, but and then this area also has telephone poles or whatever, I guess, to make it feel lived in. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at coming to replace the area. Here's one more shot of the model from over top so that you can see the entrance to the area at the bottom. Now over to the left, I guess, is like where this is the building for the carousel. Over to the left here, there's some weird structure at the bottom. I don't know what that is, but the rumor is that there's also going to be a playground somewhere in this mess here. So
I've heard it's like where the walkthrough is back behind the gift shops right now. So closer to the actual, well, the now Dinosaur / Indie ride, kind of in between.
yeah. So this one again, it's like, wait, what? So how does this fit? And they're like, well, the Indiana Jones ride is going to have like some sort of an animal type beast like inside of it, and then the one in the Encanto, we're going to go into Antonio's bedroom, which is he's all about animals. So we're done. It's exactly fits the theme. Do you agree with that, Stephanie, or do you care at this point? Do you just want to see what they're going to come up with?
So, if you've ever been to Cancun, I've been to Chichen Itza, okay? And they have this is the Mayan temple, that has the big snake heads at the bottom, and at the spring and the fall, I think, equinox, the sun will hit it at a certain way, and it looks like a snake because it was to their god, the Kukulkan, which is the feathered, snake god or whatever. But the problem being is that they sacrificed humans. So I'm not sure how they're going to, have that be okay in all of this PC world that we live in and everything. But that is, I think, based off of the concept art, kind of what they're modeling this whole ride structure after is the Chichen Itza snake god.
I don't know. Can you beat that kind of lore, Charlie? But also, what are your thoughts on the things that are coming?
So my thoughts on the Indiana Jones, is it going to be, it's a Mayan temple, not an Aztec temple, right?
I believe
right.
so, yes.
Well, yes.
Okay. So the Mayans did, there was human sacrifice. There was human sacrifice in a lot of cultures. There was human sacrifice all over the world because that's the biggest sacrifice you can make is someone you love. Like, I don't love a cow, but it's food for us versus sacrificing someone you love. That was just something that was found all over the world. So that was a very common thing. But I think the Aztecs really perfected it as an art form because they got real desperate towards the end and they were sacrificing people a lot all the time. And so that could be a boat ride with blood instead of water. Like that, I'm glad that it's not going in that direction. I don't think we necessarily need to have that as part of the Mayan ride because it's not a cornerstone of their culture. It's not like it was part of it, but not hugely. So I think having something like there's a lot of animals in their pantheon, and there's a lot of mythological components that do involve animals, jaguar spirits, and Quetzalcoatl, the feathered snake god, and like all these different things. There's a lot of different options they can pull from there. And I think with the Indiana Jones ride that they did, I think it was Tokyo, one of them. There's some other is Tokyo,
yep,
where they have a snake that rises up out of and they've already got an Indiana Jones ride with a giant snake that rises up out of the water. Like they've already got it built in. They have a giant snake in the regular one. Like it's an easy ploy to connect it there and just be like, oh well, this is one of their gods, and give it a mythological thing of like this is what we're going after. I think that's an easy get and a tie in to the mythology of it.
Yeah. Well, as Stephanie's trying to roast me about the Japan thing, it was closed when I was there, so I didn't get to ride it. But that is definitely. I mean, I rode the roller coaster that is Indiana Jones themed there, and the one in Paris that was there. But I didn't do this attraction. But we assume it's going to be pretty different because they've got to build it basically from scratch, right? So it's going to be pretty different from the one that that we know in California. I wonder if they're going to do like Indy dropping down into the car in the boulder like we see in California, or if it's just going to be completely different.
I think they'll take that out.
They have
that effect
the third
doesn't
movie
work very well.
what was it called? The time turner thing that he had in the last movie that they did?
Oh,
The
um,
Not Crystal Skull,
Dial
but
of Destiny.
yeah, Dial of
Dial of
Destiny.
Destiny. So
See,
maybe he'll have the Dial of Destiny and he'll go back and get us a
Can we
iguanodon.
just put Mutt in this ride? Can we do that? Can we have like a Shia LaBeouf
I'm
animatronic?
about to step out of this podcast. You guys are pulling on some heartstrings here that I don't want to go down this rabbit hole because I got nothing but terrible things to say about
That's
all
right.
of that. But the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, the ride in Tokyo. So the crystal skulls are actually from South America. Like
That's
the crystal
true.
skulls are a real thing, and that's part of this culture area. So they could just port that over. I didn't know they were going to do a fresh build. I thought it was just going to be an overlay to make it like take the dinosaur ride. It's already an EMV. It's
No,
already
no,
got the
that I
layout.
mean the
Just
building's
reskin
going to
it.
stay
They
the
don't have
same and
to.
the track's going to stay the
Yeah.
same. I just mean
Yeah,
they've got to like they don't like have a second version of Indy ready like from the California one to just put
oh,
in
I
here as a
see.
duplicate. They're going to have to
Yeah,
build in
they're
they
gonna
were
have
going
to
to have to
build it all
build
from
it in
scratch.
new, right? Like I
Mhm.
Yeah,
wonder if they'll keep any of the trees that are already in there or any of the stuff that's already there, in place. Or it's like, hey, Bob, you know what? Leave that there. It already fills up some space. We'll
yeah,
put like an idol to the left of it, and they'll buy it. It'll be fine.
yeah.
I'm looking for a huge upgrade here. I'm a little wary that it's Indiana Jones. I love Indiana Jones, but like we already have an Indiana Jones in California. But I'm always reminded like not everybody gets to go to both coasts, so it should be interesting to see what they come up with. I just hope it's different. It doesn't need to be a cookie cutter of what we have in California because it is different. Speaking of not cookie cutter, there's also going to be this carousel which here's the in this picture that I took. There's me and the that's something completely different with the one from Paris. But this is the the Kevin cutout. So it's supposed to be like this, wood carver from the village carved this carousel out of Disney characters, and somebody in our pack was like, that Disney would sue them if they were actually doing this, is like because there were times when Disney would like sue daycare places that would paint Mickey Mouse on the side and things like that. So
Hmm.
a little bit ironic. But I'm looking forward to seeing what all this looks like. Here's the other thing I was talking to my wife about tonight. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, but everything has this deep lore now of like Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is what we call it. But when you get there and you're in universe, it's Batuu. And on Batuu, you have Black Spire Outpost. And it's just like layers upon layers. Star Wars Galactic the Galactic Star Cruiser was the Halcyon on the Chandrilla Star Line. Like, I mean, it's like all of this different things. So here, it's the tropical Americas, but we're in what is it? Pueblo
Pueblo.
Esperanza?
Mhm.
And then within Pueblo Esperanza, you've got, Casita, and then you've got this temple. So you're gonna have to study. You have to know what you're getting yourself into.
Hmm.
We'll certainly try to share as much information as we have along the way. But again, I hope that there's some real like lore education on this to like let us know. And they probably will be. They're spending a lot of money on this. They'll probably spend a lot of time teasing in, what stuff is going to be part of this land. So
Can I
there's
just
all that.
add too, Rob, that
Sure.
this is 3 rides though. I mean, God, like hopefully, kudos to Disney. Gone are the days that we get a new land with just 2 rides, like a flat spinner or like the little boat ride in Pandora, and then we get Flight of Passage. There's only 2 rides there, but now we got 3. That's great. Good job, Disney.
Okay, Stephanie. There were 3 rides here. There was Primeval Whirl, and there was Triceratops Spin, and there was Dinosaur. Dinosaur and Indiana Jones is a 1-for-1 swap, in my opinion.
Right.
The
It's true.
Carousel and the Triceratops Spin is a 1-for-1 swap, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. But also, I feel like, the only new attraction here is really Encanto, I feel like. And if it's amazing, then I'll tell, I'll admit to that. But it continually bothers me. Like, we talk about the Fantasyland Forest expansion. I don't know. I get a little that expansion wasn't really an expansion because they closed a bunch of stuff to make that. Like that was already some other stuff. So I don't know how
That's
you guys feel
true,
about
but
that.
Disneyland, I mean, Walt Disney World in general, I mean, you have a ton of different age groups, families coming to this. It's not so much like, I mean, so you have some local people, but Disneyland's a local park. They always talk about that. And you have people getting off of work and then they go over there in the evening or something. But at Animal Kingdom, they really suffer from little kids. I'm serious, from little kids not having very many rides that they can do. And so how many times can you do Navi River Journey?
No, I was laughing at Jayware where he goes, no, Rob. Stephanie means real rides.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I concede. I'm saying though, I'm looking forward to the Encanto one. This is looks like an e-ticket full out attraction. I'm very excited about that. So, yeah, and the carousel looks like it's going to be a nice addition. Sometimes you get something like that, and it is, a nice thing, and it is covered as opposed to the burn in the sun, Triceratops spin, lift your kid up higher into the sun. So that's definitely a plus. And then the fact that the area is going to have trees as opposed to a large empty parking lot that they made to look like a parking lot. They went out of their way to make this look like a bad parking lot for the theming.
True.
Yeah, I think it looks like it's going to be beautiful. I am looking forward to seeing it. But again, I feel like Dinoland USA felt a little bit special, in general when it was in its full form. That's the other thing too, is as you take pieces away and pieces away and pieces away, at some point you just go, I just want the new thing now. I don't even remember the old thing. I just want the new thing. And I think that's why we're kind of saying goodbye here tonight to the whole thing, so we can go, okay, all right, it's done. So we definitely need to wrap this up, and I appreciate you guys being with us and hanging out with us tonight. But before we move on, and are there any final thoughts? Anything else you guys are going to miss from this land? And I do want to ask you to tell me also what you will miss the most from this land, like what one thing, and then also like I said before, is it nostalgia, or was it really? Are we really losing something big? So please tell us that. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our pack. We love our Park Adventurers Club. Thank you guys so much for being members of the pack. If you are a pack member, tonight we have a quick post show afterwards. It may just be me. Who knows? It depends on how all these guys are feeling now after muddling through all of Dinoland up till now. But I definitely thank you guys so much for being members of our community, and here's a quick shout out to some of our Zebra Mezzanine and Treasure Room supporters. So again, if you want to learn more, go to patreon.com/GoPack. We have a Discord. We have pins and stickers and things that we send out to different levels, and we would love to have you guys be part of the community as well. In our Discord, I ask the question. I do a question of the day. And I asked the question about what will you miss about Dinoland, and here's what some of our fellow park adventurers said about this. So, and by the way, at the closing of Dinoland, or Dinosaur, the ride on February 2nd, so February 1st it closed. On February 2nd, the actor who played Dr. Grant Seeker came out and was hanging out with the cast members as they got one final chance to ride, and that was awesome. I'm glad that he did it just for the cast members. That seems like that was a better place to have him come and hang out. So that was pretty cool. So I asked the question. Jake said Dr. Seeker. Jayware said the excavator. Which never happened. So again, he goes, oh wait, just more broken Disney Animal Kingdom promises. So then I'm looking down to see Mike's Adventure says, I really enjoyed Dinosaur for what it was when I was there in 2009. Outside of that, the rest of the area, from what I remember, was, and then emoji that basically is eh. And Jayware says it's kind of like Pixar Pier without California Screamin'. One good attraction and a few off-the-shelf specials, the rest carnival games. So, yeah, true. It seems a little bit like that. One of our people said, I'm going to miss the shop. That was one of my favorite themed shops. And Egg663 says Dinosaur was a great ride that held up until the end. And then Rebecca said the Dinosaur, especially the pre-show, to which Patrick Hackett said, "We're not going to make it. We're not going to make it." Charlie and I talked about this a little bit the other night when we were doing our dinosaur review on Wednesday night, is that we were quoting a bunch of things back and forth about it and talking about the fact that we're missing some good spiels and pre-shows that are leaving between Rock and Roller Coaster and Muppet Vision and Dinosaur that we all quote and love and have grown up with. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one to miss. But anyway, so thank you guys again for being with us. As we wrap up again, Stephanie, anything that we missed? What was your favorite thing or the one thing you're going to miss the most from Dinoland? And are we going to miss it? Is it just nostalgia, or are we losing something big?
I definitely think that it's the nostalgia factor plays a huge role in this, because like you're talking about, like, as there as a kid and seeing it for the first time and that kind of thing. So you grew up going to that. But I do think that the dinosaur ride had something that was unique to it. Maybe it was the same as Indiana Jones, but I didn't know that because I'd never been to Disneyland. I grew up going to Disney World, and I love the lore and the intrigue, really, of the giant dinosaurs. They still have animatronic dinosaur shows that travel around the country, and you can buy a ticket to it. And I mean, my kids and I, we were at Thanksgiving over in Glen Rose, Texas. If you've ever been there, that's a pretty fantastic place to go, because it is just like this. It is like the kitschy dino shop, that has the weird animatronic dinosaur kind of that roars at you. But then you go and you actually see the real footprints. And we have a picture of all of us sitting in these giant footprints, that are still there. And it's just fantastical to think about these beings, these creatures that were there hundreds of millions of years before us, And so, yes, I feel like we're missing that. It's going to be lost. I'm going to be over at Universal more, going to Jurassic Park, because I love that movie too. But I do hope that we get something good with this. I am actually looking forward to, if we're going to have an overlay, at least this is, overlay of a land that's new and coming. I'm happy for it. Throw me some capybaras, some llamas, heck, a guinea pig. Just bring in some animals so we can have something for Animal Kingdom.
Okay. And to our resident paleontologist?
I mean, obviously, I'm going to miss the dinosaurs aspect. I feel like there's not enough dinosaurs in the world, in anywhere. Like, Jurassic Park had a moment, and the '90s had the dinosaur craze, and then we all just kind of got over it, and I never really did. So I am going to miss Dinosaur, and the only regret that I have, because I went and I shot that land within an inch of its life, shot everything I could, not even knowing it was closing, just because I was there. Like, I just wanted to see everything. But I always wished I could have spent more time in that museum in the pre-show, because there was a lot of great stuff on loans from museums and colleges and everything. And I went through and shot as much of it as I could while I was running through the line. But it wasn't enough time. I would like to actually sit there and treat it as a museum and soak some of that in. So I think that's what I'm gonna miss. And I've got the photos, and that's nice. But to really go through that impressive collection, I think would be really cool. I am jealous that you get to go to the Glen Rose, though. The Glen Rose formation is huge. Yes. When you said that, my ears pricked up. That's a really fantastic. There are so many places like that, especially in the Southwest, where you can go and see real dinosaur, fossils or impressions, like the footprints there. There's one in Arizona that I've been to a couple of times that, it's just on the side of the road, and they have a little table with dinosaur necklaces, and then you can just walk off into the desert and see oh, that's a theropod footprint, and there's little sauropod footprints, babies, and cool stuff like that, where it's I think that's the spirit they were trying to encapsulate, and I didn't really pick up on that at the time. So I'm not really going to miss Chester and Hester's Dinorama so much, but the real dinosaur fossils and the real dinosaur connections. I think there's a lot left on the table. There was a lot more potential that they could get out of the dinosaur theme. That, you know, I'm sad to see it go.
Here's my favorite thing is that they're going to just demolish all this. They're going to build this other stuff. And in 500 years, when this is all just flat Earth, they're going to dig up dinosaur bones here. And they're going to think this was actually a place. No, there's not. Charlie was there again. I think you mentioned you were there for the closing weekend, and you were there on February 1st when the line for dinosaurs was like 320 minutes or something ridiculous.
No, I was there the morning after, actually. I didn't want to go and deal with that the day of. So this is literally the morning after. That construction you see in the distance is Casita, and I stopped and spoke to a cast member who was feeling some type of way, and she gave me a lot of information about what's going on. They had no idea that it was going to be so quick. The day before, it was like a 3.5 hour, 4 hour wait for the ride. And the next morning they come in, there was a funerary shroud over the land. They've walled off everything. And she was like, we all worked it yesterday. We thought it was going to be like, you know, a slow goodbye. And it was just one day it was there. The next it was covered up and gone. And I saw the entrance to the cast member center, or the cast member event they were doing, and like people were over there crying and hugging and everything. They got to go say goodbye, and I think that was really nice.
There's this one thing I wanted to say too about, we talked about the VIP tour. On our last VIP tour this past February, last year, we went under. So Dinosaur is actually a 2-level thing, and so you can go under and you can get into an elevator and take you up, but into the load platform. But they have in the cast member area a big mural, and it has all these different dinosaurs that the cast members have drawn. And I really, really, really hope that they preserve that, since they're not doing anything different to the building for Indy. I hope that they keep that whole mural down there in the cast member area.
That's super cool.
When I was going to say, when they got rid of Great Movie Ride, I kept thinking, this is a joke. Like, I was there the last night of a Great Movie Ride, and as we were leaving, I was like talking to one of the cast members, like, this is a joke, right? Like, there's something I'm missing here, and tomorrow you guys are going to announce that you're just renovating it. But no, that absolutely was not the case. But I hoped that it was at the time. So that one really hit me hard. I know a lot of people were like, just get rid of it. It was old. But I mean, it was a salute to old movies. This one, we had a lot of fun there. Here's a picture of my family the last time that we said goodbye to Dinosaur. And, again, we do tiger claws because some photo person told us to do tiger claws one time, and my entire family hated it. So now it's like, just as a joke, we sometimes do that. But yeah, it's, we're gonna miss hanging out there again. My kids are grown now, but they had a good time back in the day, going and digging in the dirt and walking the dinosaur and all that fun stuff. But I'm looking forward to what's next, and hopefully you guys are too. Let us know in the comments below what you guys are looking forward to with the new land, what you would have missed, what you missed about the old Dino Land. It sounds like in general people are like, bring on Tropical Americas. So I mean, it's going to be a minute where that park is going to now be down a kind of a major attraction for a long time to come. So it'll be interesting to see how all that shakes out. But again, thank you guys so much for being here tonight. We appreciate you. Thanks again to Charlie, to Stephanie, and to our pack. And if you are part of our pack, we're going to have a quick post show after this. Link is in Patreon. You guys can check it out. But have a great week, everybody. Hopefully we'll see you Wednesday night. We're doing Look on the Plus Side with Tyler Mann. He's coming back to do the Treasures of Matukambe. I think I'm mispronouncing that correctly. And that should be a train wreck. And then also Friday night is another episode of Castaways with Annie and Stephanie talking about Stephanie's show, talking about Annie's time at Universal, which will be fun. And maybe now that Stephanie's learned that Charlie was a cast member, wait for the knock on the door, buddy. It's coming. It's coming. But you guys have a great holiday weekend, a great rest of your week. Thank you so much for being here. Like, subscribe, hang out with us. We'll see you soon. And remember, adventure is out there.